I am Sonya Arellano, and I just want to thank Rachel for having me. So I am going to talk about, I became a certified nutritionist, and I have a specialization in coaching women and a menopause specialization, and I just started yesterday. So I have all those certificates. I just started yesterday, my second menopause certification, because when I get to my story, that's why I'm here, because menopause sucks. And it happens to every single woman in life to a different degree. Everybody's different, but it happens to every single woman. Nobody wants to talk about it. And I'll share my story, what I went through. And that's the reason I'm so thankful that she invited me, because we need to normalize talking about menopause, because women suffer in silence. I had a client who told me that she used to shower in the dark because she was ashamed of her body. And I'm like, what? Like, why? But so anyways, we'll get there. So my story starts though with a verse in the Bible called Jeremiah 1:5. I knew you before I formed you in the womb, because God formed me in my birth mother's womb, but he gave me the most amazing, wonderful parents. I am one of 10 that my parents adopted. I'm sorry, I just get emotional with my parents, because so thankful to God that he gave me to them, because I wouldn't be the person that I am today without them. Sorry. So one of 10. We have the first one they adopted. She was from Vietnam, but way back then, they didn't have the vaccine for chickenpox, and so unfortunately, she died of chickenpox before she came over. My two oldest sisters are Korean, so that's always fun. We go to the casinos, and this is a true story. I'll stand in the lobby, because one married a Japanese boy and the other one married a Korean. Real loud. Okay, the bus leaves at 2 o'clock. I need you right here. And I'm like, shut up, Sonya, shut up. So, anyways, we traveled. My dad was a Baptist preacher, so I'm a preacher's kid, but he also taught at juvenile hall in French camp. He was from Oklahoma. My mom is from Arkansas. We went there every summer. We traveled. So thankful with my parents, and there were 6 of us at one time, because then we did have foster kids, and I'm in the middle. And then they adopted my 3 younger sisters. They were foster kids, but there were 6 of us in a station wagon with a tent trailer as we would travel around the United States with my parents. I went to 48 states. Went to Hawaii on my own. Still need to go to Alaska, and then I can say I've been to all 50. That's going to be on a cruise. So I had a great childhood. Was the biggest tomboy in the world, and just tall and skinny, and even the slim pants didn't fit me back then. So my mom would sew me dresses, and I'm like, no, I'm wearing my cowboy boots with my dress. So I grew up in Manteca, out in the country. My mom still lives in the house that I grew up in. I went to Nile Gardens. So back then we had sports. So I started playing every single sport that we could. Probably at the age 4th grade is when we could start playing. Then when I got into high school, and just so you know, so I am 6 feet tall, and I've been this tall since I was 13. So yes, I have heard daddy long legs, string bean. I've seen better legs than that on a chicken. But I know who my maker is, and I am fearfully and wonderfully made. So it didn't bother me at all. If you don't like it, I'm sorry, you're 5'1". But my sport was always basketball. So when I got into high school, I did play basketball. I played softball for the church league, but just that is something I was always passionate about, with sports, and worked out all the time. I get done with basketball practice, come home, I'd either run, swim, jump rope, whatever. Something I've always been passionate about. And then my parents, and they weren't being mean, but pretty much we knew when we either turned 18 or graduated high school. I'm actually kind of thankful for it, because it taught me to be super independent, like I already wasn't. But we had to move out. And so at 18, I moved in with my oldest sister and her husband in Stockton. I put myself through school, and I'm not, like with the siblings, out of the 10, I'm the only one that has gone to college. And not that my siblings don't have, my brother's a contractor. My sister is a secretary for the CEO of a, so they all have good jobs. Some, I'll tell you, 2 of them are felons. My parents should have stopped with me. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. But I was the only one who went to college, and I put myself through college. And so lived in Stockton, went to Delta, worked 2 jobs. And when I first started college, I like to write. So I thought I would go into advertising and be a copywriter. No, didn't want to do that. So what do I like? Well, love sports. I like kids. And so I actually have a BA in physical education. I became a PE teacher and started teaching PE up at Marshall Middle School off of 8th Street in Stockton. And Stockton Unified has now made some changes. And then one of my friends went into administration. She says, have you ever thought about it? And I said, no, but hey, let's do it. And because I'll tell you, oh my gosh, I would get so frustrated with these kids. I'm like, twice your age, I can run circles around you. Like, kid, like, oh, that just bugs me. But anyways, so I went into administration, got my master's in educational administration, did my master's thesis on gangs in schools, because I have spent so I became a principal. So most of my career in South Stockton. I was in Stockton Unified for 13 years, and then I came to Manteca Unified. I was there for about 18. And at Great Valley and Western Ranch Elementary, I thought, oh, I'll give elementary a try. No. I always thought I loved the junior high kids until I went to New Vision, which is a continuation high school in Western Ranch. And by far, in my 31 years, my favorite job. Love those kids. And a lot of times you tell people, oh, what do you do? I'm a principal at, continuation. Oh, you have the bad kids. No, I don't. I have amazing, wonderful, talented students who, along the way, made some poor choices because they're there because they're deficient in credits, not because they're bad. So loved it. So along the way, I have a son. His dad and I, divorced, but still the best of friends. And he was a part of Matthew's life his entire life. And I give credit to his dad because Matthew's a wonderful kid. And then I did get married a second time. And then unfortunately that ended because he chose alcohol over our marriage. And if you've ever experienced alcoholism with somebody in your family, it is not fun. And I just refused to be a victim. And I had to protect my son. So when he went into rehab, I filed for divorce and bought my house. But I realized because I'm super independent. But I'll tell you what, going through that and being called stupid every day and all that gave me such a more open awareness of why some women do stay, because what that can do to somebody is horrible. And I had the means to leave. A lot of women don't. So deeper appreciation for what those women go through. And if there's anything that I could do to ever help somebody in that situation, I would do it in a heartbeat. So what I found though, and what was my outlet during that time, was to work out. And I grew up where it was the Jane Fonda, the cardio craze. And so I did all that aerobics and that. So at about 42 is when it all started happening. I was on my own and started lifting and being on bodybuilding.com. That's like years ago. And then there was this other one, forumsfemaleathlete.com. And so one of the trainers there, I hired her and I want your abs. And I'm like, okay, that's all diet. But then I started lifting and I started lifting heavy. And then I loved it. So I actually competed in NPC figure from the age of 42 to 47. And I will tell you, I am so thankful because I'm going to get to the reason why now, next week, being 57, how important muscle is as we go into menopause and as we age. But so that was my outlet. I'm thankful that I was able to do that. It's not for everybody, but it was something that I really enjoyed what I learned, the people that I met, my coaches that I had. It taught me a lot about myself. But I do not want to get up at 4:30 in the morning anymore and go do fasted cardio. And I found out that doesn't even, fed cardio is not even, it's no better than fasted. It's the same. I'm like, what? I could have had extra hours of sleep. Okay. So fast forward, now I'm the principal at New Vision, and along comes COVID. And so it's probably in March. I remember we have a house in Idaho, and one of my teachers texted me. It was like right when it was coming at the end of the school year. And it's like, yep, they're going on distance learning. So that year we had to do the drive-through graduation and everything. And I'm thinking, no, this isn't going to last. It's just the form of the flu, right? No. So next school year is coming. We're going to the district. And it was a lot what they had us administrators do. But on top of that, my superintendent decided that he was also going to make me be the principal of Manteca Day. So now I have New Vision High School and the principal of New Vision High School, the principal of Manteca Day. Now, that again, the people say, oh, you're the bad kids. No, they make poor choices. But yes, those are the students who are either SARBed or expelled on a suspended enforcement. So, and it's not just one school, it's two, because you have the K-6 element and then you have 8 through 12. So in essence, I was the principal of 3 schools. And this was all during COVID. And when I went through menopause. So truly, truly, it is my experience. I never in my life thought I would ever say that I was depressed. I was depressed. Now, it could be because of my job, because I love New Vision. And if it was just New Vision and I had menopause, it might have been a completely different story. But that's not what God had me do. I literally told my boss, can you write me a letter of recommendation? And then I said, no. And if anybody knows Clara Schmid, love her to death. She's fabulous. I told her, Clara, you always had my back. I know this is not your decision. It's the superintendent's. I'm going to stay and I'm going to have your back. So I did. I'm not a crier. I tell people if you see me cry, except when I'm emotional, talk about my family, get at work, get out of my way because I'm mad. I pretty much cried going to work every single day. And I didn't tell my boss this, and she was like, why didn't you tell me? And I'm like, what are you going to do about it, Clara? It wasn't your decision to give me Manteca Day. And you know what? I just need to do it. But so all the things that affect you when you go through menopause, I experienced to the extreme. Cortisol levels, stress, so important to keep in check. I pretty much put on about 20 pounds. So I was miserable because remember, it was just a few years ago at 47, I was probably 9% body fat. Now, I don't want to look like that anymore. Those days are gone, and it was the time of my life that I needed, and I'm appreciative of that. But you think, and I still worked out, but then all the stress from the job, the weight gain, and not sleeping. And during COVID, you can't go out. So I couldn't go to the gym and work out. That's when I started building my home gym, which I'm thankful for. But even then, I was just so stressed and so tired. And I came home and I poured that drink. And then I poured that second drink. And so pretty much for about a year, that's what I did. Every day I came home and to relax, because you think alcohol, and it does relax you for a minute. But what it does to your hormones and what it does to disrupt your sleep. So it's over, COVID's over, and they ended up putting Manteca Day back where it was. Go figure. But education never went back. It never went back to what it was before COVID. And it was hard. It was hard to see my kids in the mental health aspect of what they went through. That's heartbreaking. So, but I sat there and I'm like, Sonya, what are you doing? This isn't you. You are better than this. And if somebody would tell me no, I'd be like, watch me. So no, Sonya, let's do this. So, but there's a silver lining to this too. So my son got married 2 years ago, and then they had my grandson Matthew, and McKenna had Bo. So I always said if I was able to do it, I want to help watch my grandchildren. And so in December of, it would be 2022, I made the decision that I was going to retire. Financially, I was able to do it. I know people are like, you're not old enough to retire. I'm old enough to retire, just not the typical age that educators retire. So I thought, well, Sonya, what are you going to do when you're done retiring? And because I only watch my grandson twice a week, and that's enough. Like, he's just started doing the army crawl. Like, dude, you're everywhere. Where'd you go? And I thought, well, what my passion has always been nutrition. So I was just doing this for myself, and I said, well, I'm going to get certified. So I enrolled in I don't know if anybody knows Bill Campbell and Lane Norton, very, very well known in the field. And so I did all 3 levels of their certification, the Clean Health Institute. And then I thought, well, I'm not the one to say this is how it's going to be. No, we can change it, but I had to educate myself. And so that's when I went with Dr. Stacy Sims, and I did her menopause certification, and I loved her. I'm the nerdy one that, like, if you tell me something, well, why? I was always the one to question, well, why? Well, how come? But why is that? And so I wanted to educate myself. And my poor boyfriend, he's a dairy farmer. He'd go like, "Did you know that estrogen, like it is a neurotransmitter, and then with the hypothalamus, and then." And he'd be like looking at me like, "What?" And men don't care, anyways, you know. But he tries to tell me he went through menopause. I'm like, "What? No, no, no! You don't even get to steal that from me, because what we went through is real." So and just like I really loved it. And then my coaching women specialist is, it's more, is it focuses on menopause, but it really, because girls, women don't know, you start perimenopause, you can start as young as 35, and it can go, could last for like 10 years. And a lot of women, like, I didn't know, because when I was in perimenopause and I have thyroid disease, thank you to my son, like I was competing. So I never really knew that I was going through perimenopause. Um, and then it wasn't until I was 52 when I went through menopause. And I had a hysterectomy, so I didn't really know, because I don't know if you guys know that menopause is, you go through menopause when you know you've gone at 12 months without menstruating. So once you have hit 12 months without a period, that's when you're in menopause. So anyways, that's pretty much my story. I can talk about what I've learned if you want me to, or if you have questions. If you have questions, okay. So like I said, I just did this for myself. And then one of my friends, because in the school district, she heard, and so she asked me. And my friends knew. Like even when I was competing, like I literally had a girl run out of the gym. It was 24 in Manteca, now it's CalFit. Like, oh my gosh, you look amazing. Like, will you coach me? And she's like, I want to look like you. And again, I'm like, you're what, 5'5"? You're not gonna look like me. You know, I'm 6 feet tall. That's just not possible. So even when I was competing, I did train. But now I've taken it to a whole other level, and it was for myself. But I actually, in the past 6 months, I've had 10 clients, and that was just by word of mouth. So they came to me because that is what I did it for. And it wasn't for the money, but it was to educate and to teach women, and to hopefully normalize talking about menopause, because I didn't tell anybody what I went through. You know, it wasn't until after the fact, crying every day. I didn't want to get out of bed. I never thought I would say I was depressed, and I was depressed. And, when I told my boss, she's like, well, why didn't you tell me? Nothing you could do about it. But there was something I could do about it. And so I educated my own. So perimenopause is, there's 3 levels, right? And I know I'm probably giving you the basics. Perimenopause, menopause, and then postmenopause. Perimenopause, that's when estrogen starts to fluctuate. It can happen 35 to 45, but it usually lasts about 10 years. And then when you go into menopause, like I said, that's when you haven't had a period for 12 years. Average age when that happens is about 51. And then postmenopause, well, that's what the stage of the biological state you're going to be in for the rest of your life. So there's 3 different, obviously women, estrogen is the prominent hormone, but there's 3 different. So you have estradiol, which is E3. And then you have, I hope I pronounce it right, estrol. I know how to spell it. I don't know, and that's E3. And then there's estrone, which is E1. So E2, the estradiol, that's what I refer to it as like the women's testosterone. That's what you have. That's what gives you the ability to make the muscle. And then E3, the estrol, that's prominent during pregnancy. So it's pretty weak. Well, then the estrol, the 1, is what? It's 10 times weaker than estradiol. Well, that's what I have in postmenopause. That is what you will have, the estrogen, when you are in postmenopause for the rest of life. So it makes things a lot more harder and difficult. Is it impossible? Absolutely not, because I'm just amazed. So going from being an athlete, competing, being 9% body fat, is like, into this, but things change. And I'm like, why is it different? Why can't I just train and eat the way that I did? Yeah, because I don't have that estrogen anymore. And it has such an impact in a woman's body. So one of the things that you'll hear the most is about those stupid hot flashes. Oh my gosh, I was a hot mess, literally a hot mess. So, well, what happens is because people don't know, it's in the hypothalamus, and literally it's a neuron called KNDY. It's pronounced candy, so you can remember it that way. Well, what happens is with your estrogen, and then there's a neurotransmitter, neurokinin, KIN. I can see things. It's called NKB. Well, so what happens is it's out of balance, and so it tells the other neuron to the hypothalamus, like, hey, your body is, you're hot, when it's not. Well, what does your body do when you're hot? You sweat. So now the hypothalamus, tells your body to cool down, and you sweat when you're not really hot. It's a mess. Then the other thing is that most of my clients will want to talk about that midsection, and that's I have that too. So I'm working on it. But a lot of times people think it's not menopause that causes that. That's just natural as we age. It's a tendency, we don't move as much. And so that happens mostly. That's where it's going to come. But your estrogen, and when it drops, because of, we become insulin resistant. And that is when it's placed around the midsection. Because obviously, when we have the estrogen, we're the pear-shaped, and now all of a sudden we become the apple-shaped, right? Not everybody, and I'm talking for myself because everybody's different. But that's because of we become insulin resistant. And because when estrogen drops, then insulin comes to give when you eat glucose, the sugar, and it goes into your cell for energy. Well, the GLUT4 has to let it in because it has to wake up. It's the receptor, so the insulin lets the glucose into your cell for energy. But now you become insulin resistant. So what are you doing with all this extra insulin? Well, it's storing on your body as fat. So what the other thing? Oh, it was so bad for me is the brain fog. Oh my gosh, I still have it now. I'll be at work and I was talking and I'm just like, I completely forgot the word I was going to say. And it's like I knew what I wanted to say, I just couldn't say it because estrogen is a neurotransmitter. And so then there's this whole different uptick in this disbalance between serotonin and tryptophan. So I learned so much, and I know I'm talking about, that's the nerdy sciencey stuff that I said that I love. Like, I want to know why. Why do I have brain fog? Why is it around my midsection? If I didn't change anything, and I'm still working out, and I eat pretty healthy 90% of the time, which people say 80-20, you'll be good. To me, I know my body, so I do eat pretty healthy. And then the whole, just learning so much is just, and I will tell you, the only other thing is that is a little bit frustrating is when we're younger and the estrogen is high, you could pretty much, and if you really wanted to do an extreme, you could probably lose 3 pounds a week. That's probably the most you want to lose because otherwise that's not really healthy. When you are in menopause or postmenopause, you're lucky if you lose about half a pound a week. So it's taken me some time, but I have lost 10 pounds. And I'm still working on it. It's a work in progress because everything is just, you're tired. You are. And so it's just, but I'm doing it. Yes, question. What are you doing? So, and when you look at your nutrition, and the one thing I will tell you, and you don't, because what happens is, then with muscle. So as we age normally, just take menopause out of the equation, we're going to lose muscle, and it's called sarcopenia. And so that just happens naturally. But then when your estrogen drops, it becomes an anabolic stimuli, and so you're not making that muscle anymore. And estrogen also comes into play with protein synthesis, which is how you make muscle, okay? When you eat the protein. So definitely, and people, like when I tell some of my clients how much protein they need to intake, they're like, what? You high? Are you on something, because even when I competed, I don't think I take in 160 grams of protein a day. It's a lot, yes. It's tricky, but you have to learn to do it. And that's, as a coach, that's what I help my clients with, because they look at me, and most of my clients, but I'm a big girl. I mean, I'm tall. I'm 6 feet tall, and I'm going to tell you, I weigh 175 pounds.
Was that mostly for like solids or liquids too?
So whole foods are better because, estrogen affects. I did not. Oh my gosh! I didn't mean to say. I meant to say effects. I meant to don't. I meant to say effects. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I'm so right. Right? Is your gut microbiome. And your gut plays a role in everything. I'll give you one secret to do. Start taking, and I do kefir. So probiotics are so important. I just love kefir because I take it out of the refrigerator in the morning and I just drink it. That fermented food, get those probiotics. There was a study done. This is the nerdy part coming in again. So just so as there's 3 people that I follow and I belong to them, and everything that I learned is because it's scientifically backed. There's so many influencers like on Instagram, literally they're telling, don't eat fruit, don't eat, oh, I eat that every morning. Okay. So it's so hard to see that because people, when you're not educated and you don't know, and you think of these people have millions of followers, 1,000 followers, that they know what they're talking about. They don't. So the kefir, like the probiotics, there was a study. They didn't change their diet. They didn't change their exercise. All they did was added in a fermented food. You could get that from yogurt, aged cheeses, kimchi, but I like kefir. It's just easy. And they lost 4% body fat just by doing that one thing. Yeah. So go. What was your question?
About the solids that
Oh,
were
the solid. So obviously you want to eat whole foods because it's better for your gut microbiome. um, we become insulin resistant. So, and we know that glucose is sugar from carbs. And so you think, oh, but then I should cut down on my carbs. No, it's all about nutrient timing too. It gets really complicated. Not complicated, but like I have so much information and like obviously you can tell I'm passionate about this. Like this is my thing. Like I love this. So most of your carbohydrates you want from fruit, but then you got the influencers on there telling you don't eat fruit because it does have pectin, has a natural sugar. Don't worry about that. It's good for you. But then nutrient timing, your pre-workout and your post-workout is when you're going to have those complex carbs because that's when you want to fuel. And because what happens is that's when you're working out and that glucose, that's when you want that energy. That's when it's going to burn that for fat. And so it's like when I do a nutrition plan and a training plan for a client, like I always talk about you and women, then after we go in menopause, we talk about you have about an hour and a half to get that glucose and that protein to build that muscle because you want to restore the glycogen level. Once you go into menopause, because of the drop, you have about a 30-minute window. So there's things that I had to learn because you want to get that protein back in as quickly as you can because of the anabolic stimuli that estrogen is no longer providing. So little things like that I've learned. Training, the one thing I'm thankful for is you really want to do, and you can still, like if you're a marathon, like Dr. Sims, who I got the first certification through, she's a cyclist and like she does that, and there's a couple of marathon runners, they still do that. So I'm not like, I wouldn't tell somebody if that's into doing that, no, you keep doing that, but you have to do high intensity interval training is super important. So, and it's nice because you get, like I do every minute on the minute. I do a couple workouts a week. You're done in 20 minutes. Now, my passion has always been lifting. So that's what I was going to say. I'll get to that. So important as we go into menopause because, as I said, you're going to lose muscle anyways as you age. Did you know that the majority of women at the age of 60, because they don't work out and they haven't, and they're losing the muscle, is they can't even lift 10 pounds. Yeah. And I'm like, that's sad. And I just know that I think, like I said, next week I'll be 57. I'm like, how did that happen? You know? But I'm thankful because like my little Bo, my grandson is 10 months old. And so I'm just so thankful I was down on the floor playing with him. And yeah, I do have to use a chair to help myself get up, but I'm able to do that and I can move and I'm just thankful. I just realize when I lift weights, when I run, when I do all this, I'm just thankful that I still can. And I just know for myself it's just going to get better, and it's because of I educated myself. But my situation, like there's so many women that go through it and they don't want to talk about it, but why? I mean, obviously we're not going to put it on a billboard, but why not? You know what? Because we all go through it at different levels. And there's a lot of women that just think, well, this is just how it's going to be. No, it doesn't have to be, because I have learned so much, and I'm very thankful. And I'm thankful that you allowed me to come in today and to share. Are there any more questions? No, Tiffany.
You had a really good post because I hear this about intermittent fasting.
Oh, fasting is not your friend during menopause, because what happens, it puts you into low energy availability, and you're already tired, right? I mean, your hormones are just out of whack. And so fasting is not your friend, because what do a lot of younger women, and I think, we probably all did this in our 20s, 30s. What do? You starve yourself. You don't eat. Don't do that. That's just going to make things worse. I mean, that just throws your hormones out of balance. And Tiffany, she's my friend. She's also my esthetician. She's amazing. Um, she was talking about, because I just started an Instagram page because I just want to share what I've learned with people. And so she's nice, and she likes my posts all the time. And you know what? And sometimes I only get like 3 likes, and I don't care. It's if it helps somebody out with something that I post, then that's what I'm doing it for. Yes.
What's your opinion on testing? Doing testing throughout the month versus one test that may be skewed because your hormones change, right, throughout the month. What is it that you recommend, or what do you use to test?
Are you talking about hormone levels?
Correct.
Okay. One, I'm going to tell you, do not go to your practitioner. The important thing is to go to an endocrinologist, and they'll do your blood work. So it doesn't matter. I mean, just they'll know. They'll test your blood. It's not going to change that much. And they can't test to see if you're in menopause. That's when you have to know it's been a year since you've had your period. But some people like, so I mean, what I learned in my studies, it's individual what you want to do. And I like that Dr. Stacy, she calls it menopause hormone therapy, not replacement, because you can't replace once your estrogen is gone, you can't replace it. So if somebody is taking the progesterone or the DHA or the estrogen, like they do it in a cream, I think, I don't know if it's in a pill. I know the cream, it just kind of levels it out. It doesn't give you more estrogen. So to answer, if you go and have your blood tested, it's going to be fine, because, like I said, you'll find out exactly where your estrogen level is. Because once it's there, like my estrogen level, now that I'm in postmenopause, that's what the state of life I'm going to be in for the rest of my life. Yeah. So I can't. So let's just say that I took an estrogen cream. It's not going to make my estrogen go up. That doesn't happen. But a lot of things that I read about and people say is you go to your practitioner, oh, you're just fine. You're fine, just, and they literally tell you, especially if it's a man. What does a man know about menopause? They don't. And they'll tell you, oh, just, and it is true, you need to watch what you eat. I'll tell you, alcohol does affect your hormones. Like, it's ridiculous how much it affects your sleep. And you think, so it's funny because, and I drink, and so with my clients, but what a lot of people don't know is alcohol is a macronutrient, but your body has no use for it. It's also a toxin. But you have to, so use a calculator in my macros. Like, I put it in every day. I know people are like, you still do that? Yeah, I do. Do I do it every single day? No. Do I count my macros every day? No. I will count my protein every day though. Do I reach 160 grams every day? No. But I'll reach about 130 because I know the importance of it. But if you're going to drink, it's funny because, so wine, and do it one time if you drink wine, actually measure only 5 ounces. You'd be surprised, right? And so, but what do a lot of people do? Like I did it because I thought alcohol helps you relax. It does in the moment. And then what's going to happen is going to disrupt your sleep come about 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. And that happened to me. I would wake up about 3 o'clock every morning and I could not go back to sleep. So, and it's funny because I like vodka. And so for me, and I could do it daily, I don't, but I could do a shot glass is 2 ounces, right? So for me, as big as I am, I can only do 1.5 ounces. And you could get away with it. It would be fine. It wouldn't affect you as much. And so that's what I give my clients. And if I started, they had to fill out a questionnaire. So we talk about stress. Do you have any stressors? And I'll tell you one thing I learned, and it was from Dr. Sims. This is another thing is adaptogens. They work. They work. I take rhodiola and Shisandra, and it's amazing. But I also learned I was taking ashwagandha. Not supposed to take that because I take Synthroid, and I did not know that. And I took it for the longest time because it helps with stress. So there's a lot of things that I learned, but I am a fan of adaptogens. So as Tiffany said, I do post a lot on my Instagram page because I just want to help women because I just know what I went through, and if I can help you from having to go through some of the things that I went through, then I'm happy. Yeah.
Can you talk specifically about how you get that much protein?
Sure. Yeah. And it takes a minute. So I try to tell my clients, and I live by this rule too. Obviously, with that much protein, you're going to have to supplement. So one of the things, and I just did a post on animal protein versus plant, because when through my certification, like I might have a client that they might want to do the keto diet, and some might be vegetarians. So with that, you have to learn all that different stuff too. You have to supplement, but I will tell you what I learned, and yes, I have an opinion, but if you want to do plant protein, that's fine. It's going to take a little bit harder. But because also in the whey protein, you want your leucine content, and that's so important. And it would be it's really hard to get that because protein is based on the bioavailability. And so the whey protein that helps with the muscle synthesis, you have to get the leucine content. And if you look on it, and it's whey isolate, which is the one that has the leucine, and you really only need like 3 grams. But you can't get the leucine. You can in other, but it's not as bioavailable. So I say don't supplement more than twice a day. If you have to, obviously grabbing a protein bar is going to be better than grabbing a candy bar, right? So I will tell my clients if you're going to do a protein shake, the best thing then is to do it after you work out, because I will take in 40 grams of protein just after the workout alone. Um, so you get creative. I mean, you have eggs. It just depends on what you like, right? I love cottage cheese. I found a yogurt, ratio yogurt, has 25 grams of protein. Sprinkle, and I do what is called flexible dieting. So if I do diet, you get to eat whatever you want as long as you stay within your calories and your macros. So I do ratio yogurt. So and you're also getting a probiotic, and there's um, protein granola. So you sprinkle that over, and then I put fruit on there. I just took in 35 grams of protein for a snack. So you have to get, and you have to, and then obviously, I mean, I ate a lot of chicken, I ate fish. Those are high in protein. So, I mean, but when I eat, it's probably 5 ounces of chicken, you know. So, and obviously, I mean, because of my size, you wouldn't have to take in 160 grams because you're not as big as me.
Yeah, follow-up question. People say, oh, like how much you weigh, that's kind of what you want to go for daily.
Which is true, yes. About anywhere from 1.2 to 2.2 depends on how active you are as well. Because and as we ate, and that's the one thing that it's cute. I worked out one of my friends. She was a client, and I've known her since she was born. Her mom was a teacher, and she was my teacher when I was a principal at Great Valley. She's a tiny little thing, and just she's probably what 5 feet if she's lucky. And so the other thing that I have to tell women, and they don't understand it because they're like, "Oh my gosh, I'm gonna get bulky. I'm gonna look like a man." No, you won't. You have to lift heavy. You have to lift heavy. You have to lift heavy. And women don't understand. Like they think. So for my client, she like picked up a 10 pound. No, get over there and try to pick up a 15. Like push yourself, do it right. And I definitely don't lift as heavy as I did when I was competing. Like I squatted 250 pounds. I do not want to do that again because I messed up my knee. Um, you know, so yes, it depends. It's based on your weight, and you want to take in at least a gram of protein per pound of weight. So if you weigh 130, you want to try to get 130 grams of protein. But honestly, when you go into menopause, you should try to shoot for a little bit more. I would always say 1.5. If you're working out, you want even more than that. That takes you up into the 2.2 grams, you know. So
Yeah, because I'm 44 and I teach Pilates like daily, so I feel like I'm constantly moving.
yeah,
I've had kids,
right.
tired,
Yeah.
more physically
Mm-hmm.
day, but I have been trying to
Yeah.
do what you're saying.
Yeah. It's hard, and you have to,
How do I
yeah.
do it?
And you feel like you're eating constantly. So other trick is so the ratio, the yogurt, cottage cheese is another thing. Good thing you guys need to know fiber. If I had to tell you for nutrition, protein, fiber. For training, hit and lift heavy. um, but you find different ways that it's on, and like I show my clients tuna, like in my purse, like I keep a protein bar. I do because I'd rather eat that than and like instead of stopping at a fast food. But if you do, get a chicken sandwich, and but I stop at Vitamin Shop. you know so um but fiber is so important. That's with the gut microbiome because the protein and the fiber help with satiety. I don't know if I say that word right. I can spell it for you, but satiety, right? Am I saying it right? It just keeps you fuller. So, but you do the tuna packets. I keep those too. After I competed, I refused to eat tilapia. I will not eat tilapia anymore. That's gross. But I do eat fish, not tilapia. But then for the longest time, I wouldn't eat tuna because because you have to get in your protein, I would literally just eat it out of the can. Yeah. So, but the pouches of tuna, super easy, to transport, to carry with you. Um, and you just have to find ways. But as a coach, like that's what I help my clients with because that is what they struggle with the most is getting in their protein grams. Yeah. I could keep talking, but I know y'all have to. I don't have to go back to work because I retired. Oh yeah,
We
I
have
barely.
time for a little bit. Do you guys have any other questions? I was just going to ask you, like, what does your day look like from start to finish?
Um,
Like food wise,
right. So I'll tell you when I retired, it's like, oh, Sonya, you better get out of bed. This is like it was like 8 o'clock, and so the bad thing was it was like 8 o'clock, and I'm still like until the dog comes and licks your face. But then I realized you are having to really struggle now to get your protein in. So I always make sure that my boyfriend leaves at 6:30, so I get up with him. And on the days that I have to watch my grandson, I leave at 7. So I get up and I will share with you. The first thing I do because I found I don't what the typical thing is you want to reach for your phone. So I learned no, put that down. I reach for my Bible after I get my cup of coffee. So and I do a couple posts on collagen. A lot of people ask about that. There's not a lot of evidence out there to show that it works, but there's a different type of collagen, the native collagen, and then the peptides. Um, the one thing that I will say is you have to take in your grams of protein first for it to even be effective. But I do, so I'm like, there might be a chance that it helps, so I put that in my coffee. You can mix protein in your coffee a little bit because I know when I do my typically for breakfast it's oatmeal, and I love Quest. That's my favorite snack to do. So they have vanilla protein, the liquid. That's what I add into my oatmeal, and then I always do. It's how do I say? It's like chia seeds and all the chia is that right? And then there's some other fiber. I put a scoop over that, and then I put blueberries, and then I will eat. And people don't have to, but I'm used to it because of when I was competing. So I know it's hard for some people, and it's a lot of times when you're at work. I remember when I was at my desk as a principal. I don't know how many times my secretary came in and she would kick people out of my office or like, I'll heat up your lunch again, because it would take me like 3 times. I never interrupted my teacher's lunch, but then when I was eating lunch, they had no problem coming in and sitting down. I'm like, okay, I guess I'm not having lunch. Um, so I understand with people's jobs. So then if I'm at home, if I'm not, but I do when I go to watch my grandson, um, I still study something and try to learn something new every day. But if I'm at home, it's a regular day. So I eat and then I will. So I will tell you, I love, what is it? Dave's, the Dave's Killer Bread. Well, now he makes these little, I don't know what they're, oatmeal things. I eat that and I drink a protein shake. That's the first thing I do. Then that's when I have my oatmeal, or I do the Kodiak um, waffles or whatever. That's super easy. That has protein in it. Or I make my own protein pancakes, eggs. You get tired of eggs, so you really have to mix it up. And then I will sit and I will study for a little bit or take the dog for a walk. Oh, vitamin D, so important, so important. The best thing though is to, if you can, and it only takes 10 minutes, is to go out in the morning sun and get your vitamin D. It sets your melatonin for the night and it'll help you sleep. Yeah, just by 10 minutes in the morning. So I take my dog because we live in the country. Well, we have a dairy, so we live in the country, and I have like all the cats that come. They must spread the word. That lady over there will feed you, and so, so I go out with my coffee and I get my morning sun when it's not raining, um, and then I'll and so I eat again. I eat every 3 hours, and so I'll eat a snack, and that's probably why it helps to get in my protein. Um, and then I'll study a little bit more. Or if I have something to do, like grocery shopping, that's a chore, but you have to do it right. And then nutrient timing is so important. So then I'll have lunch, and that's usually about an hour, hour and a half before I work out. I'm thankful I have my own home gym, and then we have 200 acres of almonds, so I run. Um, but you can find a lot of equipment on Facebook Marketplace. So I have my treadmill, I have a spin bike, I have to do my hit, but then I do every minute on the minute, so whatever workout I need to do. And sometimes if you're like on the day one day when I come home from watching my grandson, I'm tired, but that's when I'll do a 20-minute hit workout, and then you're done. And then pretty much, yeah, I earned it, so I'm gonna sit on the couch and watch TV for a minute. Yeah, so it's nice to be retired. You said you're thinking about doing it. Do it. Do it. Do it. But like I loved what you said. You're thinking, oh, what am I going to do after? Yeah, what's next? Because you do feel like you're in a completely new chapter, and not that I know that I still have purpose, but I know that I was a principal. So yes, I'm a grandma now. But what else? Who is Sonya? And I'm a certified nutritionist with a specialization in menopause, and I want women to know that it's normal to talk about it and that you don't have to suffer in silence. I know there was a few people that came in. I do have a drawing, so if we can have you put your name on here, so we could, because if you not on my Instagram, who didn't do this?